Are you confident your facility is waste compliant? As a business owner, operator, or facility manager, let me ask you plainly, are you sure your facility is fully compliant with all state and federal waste regulations, especially those dealing with hazardous waste? Or do you suspect there's a problem? Maybe you've received a notice, a fine, or just have a gut feeling something's off. If that sounds familiar, stick around. This video is for you. I'm Doug Rulin, Principal Environmental Consultant with RMA. Over the years, we've helped countless facilities tackle their waste and hazardous waste challenges. In the next few minutes, I'll walk you through the most common questions we get from people just like you, those responsible for waste management at industrial and commercial sites. By the end, you'll understand your key responsibilities as a waste generator and have a much clearer idea of what to do next. And if you still have questions, we'll point you in the right direction. A note, this video focuses on waste generators, facilities that produce waste on site and may store it temporarily before shipping it for treatment or disposal off site. If you're a transporter, landfill operator, or incinerator, your rules differ, but we're still happy to help if you reach out. So let's start by saying, what makes something a waste? A material becomes waste when you're no longer using it for its originally intended purpose and you plan to discard it. This could be anything you throw away, burn, store indefinitely, or ship out for treatment, whether it's solid, liquid, or gas. Examples would be things like used chemical solvents, expired chemicals, broken equipment, oily rags, or even just regular trash. If you're not using it and not reclaiming it, it may be regulated waste. So then, who regulates waste? Both the federal and your state government. Federally, waste is regulated under the Resource Conservation and Recovery Act, or RCRA, which is overseen by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA. But states can, and usually do, set stricter rules. So you must follow both federal and state regulations. For example, California, New York, and Washington have tougher laws than the EPA baseline. What are the main waste categories? Waste typically falls into 4 groups. Solid waste, which is a broad category, it's not just dry stuff or solid stuff, including things like trash, liquids, and even gas. Hazardous waste, which is a subset of solid waste, which could be flammable, corrosive, reactive, or toxic materials. Universal waste, which are common hazardous waste like batteries, lamps, and mercury devices, regulated under simplified rules. And then other regulated wastes, which would be things like used oil, medical waste, or electronic wastes, which may have separate rules depending upon your particular state. How do I know if my waste is hazardous? There are 2 main types of hazardous waste. Listed hazardous wastes, which are predefined by the federal EPA and are usually therefore pretty easy to identify. Or characteristic hazardous wastes, which are based on the property of the waste, flammability, toxicity, etc. Here's the key. It's your responsibility as the generator to know. If you're unsure, you must conduct a waste characterization, which is a formal process to test and document whether the waste is hazardous. Don't rely on your waste hauler. They can advise you, but the responsibility and liability is yours as the generator. Do all waste generators need to register? The answer is no. Registration depends upon how much hazardous waste you generate each month. Knowing your monthly total is essential to determining your regulatory status. So what are the 3 categories of hazardous waste generators? Well, let's start with the smallest. The smallest is known as a very small quantity generator, or VSQG. That's a facility that generates less than 100 kilograms per month of hazardous waste. That's about 220 pounds. These facilities usually don't need to register with the government, and they're subject to fewer rules, but still must handle, store, and dispose of hazardous waste properly. The next category is known as a small quantity generator, or SQG. These are facilities that generate between 100 kilograms a month and 1,000 kilograms a month. These facilities must have an EPA ID number, and they can store their waste on site for up to between 180 and 270 days, depending upon where it's disposed of. These facilities must have a training program to train employees, they must keep records, and they have to engage in inspections to look at their waste management areas on a regular basis. The last category, and the largest category, are the large quantity generators, or LQGs. These are facilities that generate over 1,000 kilograms of hazardous waste a month, which is equivalent to 2,200 pounds per month, or about a ton per month, or more than 1 kilogram of acutely hazardous waste. These facilities must ship their waste off-site quickly, within 90 days. They have much stricter storage, labeling, and emergency preparedness rules. They also must file a biennial report. Knowing your category affects everything, from how long you can store waste to what type of reporting and registration is required. Now at your site, where can I store hazardous waste? Storage must happen only in identified and approved accumulation areas, of which there are two types. We'll start with the Central Accumulation Area, or CAA. That is the main storage zone, and it has strict structural and safety requirements. The other storage area is the Satellite Accumulation Area, or SAA. That can be located near the point of generation of the hazardous waste for temporary smaller volumes. Both of these storage areas require things like secondary containment, protection from the weather. They can't be located in proximity to drains, food preparation areas, or other high-risk areas, and time limits apply. Waste cannot sit around indefinitely. What about labeling of hazardous waste? Labeling is a top cause of violations. Containers must clearly state that the contents are hazardous waste. They must identify the contents and hazard description, the accumulation start date, when the hazardous waste began to be put into the container, generator information in some states, and even smaller temporary containers must be labeled. And always keep these containers closed when not in use. Okay, who has to file one of these biennial reports? Only large quantity generators do. Every 2 years, they have to report how much waste was generated and what types, how it was managed, and where it went. Missing or inaccurate reports can lead to hefty penalties. Now, what is universal waste? Universal waste is a type of hazardous waste, but it's regulated under more flexible rules. It includes things like fluorescent bulbs, batteries, pesticides, mercury-containing devices like thermostats, and in some states, things like aerosol cans and used oil. It's still regulated, but the rules are easier to promote recycling of these materials. What's a waste audit, and should I get one? Yes, and it's usually your smartest move. A waste audit is a professional review of your facility's waste types, storage methods, labeling practices, record keeping, compliance gaps. Think of it like a checkup for your waste management system, and often the best starting point. Sounds great. How much does a waste audit cost? Typically between about $1,000 to $5,000, depending upon your site's size and complexity. That's pennies compared to the cost of a single violation or emergency cleanup. How long does a waste audit typically take? Usually just 1 or 2 days on site, plus a few days for preparation of a report. Larger complex facilities might take longer, but we would aim to keep the disruption as minimal as possible. Who should perform the audit? Usually, you'd use a third-party environmental consultant. We bring the regulatory expertise, objectivity, and field experience to spot problems and to help you fix them. Internal audits are helpful, but we often catch what others might miss. So at this point, maybe you're feeling overwhelmed. Well, here's how RMA can help you. At RMA, we help facilities nationwide conduct waste audits, improve compliance, minimize risk, develop SOPs and labeling systems, file required reports, train staff, and our goal is to make the complex clear and help you manage waste the right way. So what are the key takeaways of this video? First of all, waste is regulated by both the US EPA and your state. It's your responsibility to know what type of waste you generate, whether solid, hazardous, or universal. You really should know and identify your generator category, whether it's a VSQG, an SQG, or an LQG. You need to know that there are labeling, storage, and reporting regulations, and those rules matter, and violations are expensive. And that a waste audit is often the best place for you to start. So with all that, we'd say to you, don't go it alone. RMA can help you. Still have questions? Check out more resources on our website. Watch our other videos on YouTube, The Environmental Experts, or browse US EPA and state sites, but expect a lot of legalese. If you want straight answers and a practical game plan, reach out to us. We'll walk through your situation and help you find the right path forward. Thanks for watching, and here's to a safer, smarter, cleaner future at your facility.